All right, guys. So welcome. I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna introduce Shakib actually, because I'm kind of hosting this as part of my Ecom Entrepreneurs Academy 2.0 course. So for those of you who don't know me, or if you're not too familiar with who I am, my name is Farzan Parupia. I launched my Amazon business a few years ago. I reached six figures fairly quickly, alhamdulillah. And after that, a lot of people started approaching me in terms of how to sell on Amazon and how I could help them and how they can do the same thing. And so that's when I started helping people out one-on-one. And it was on a free. I was doing it for free. I wasn't charging anybody anything. And it got to a point where there were so many people contacting me on an individual basis that it was not feasible for me to help everybody out on a one-on-one basis without charging anything. And so what I did was I put together an online course called Ecom Entrepreneurs Academy. I launched this for the first time in August, or actually it was October of 2015. So a little bit over a year ago, about 14 months ago. And that went very, very well. Got about 70 or so students during that first launch. Did a second launch in February of 2016, and then a third launch in around just a few weeks ago, actually, of 2016. And so overall, I have near 200 students for that course. And the reason it's called EEA 2.0 is because this previous time, currently when I launched it, I decided to redo the entire course because of all of the changes that Amazon's going through. And so that's why it's called 2.0, and I'm re-recording the entire course live. And so as part of that course actually is the second live coaching call. And as I mentioned in my email messages, that this is normally only open for course students. But because I understand that so many of you are concerned about this topic and may have had issues, or you want to know more about this topic and want to learn the top tier strategies about Amazon sponsored ads, that's why with Shakib Jamal, I decided to open this up, because when I saw his numbers, which you'll see in just a second, it was pretty crazy. And I was like, I think this would be valuable to everybody, not just my course students. So hopefully it's valuable to you. And today what we're going to learn, and even myself, what I'm going to learn, is Shakib's unique Amazon PPC strategy that's getting him and his clients ACoS, which is advertising cost of sales, of between 1% and 20%. Now, I understand that there are people who are of all different levels on this webinar and on this coaching call. Some of you may have not even started an Amazon business yet. You're thinking about it. Some of you may be advanced Amazon sellers. Whatever the case is, we're going to try to accommodate everybody and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So advertising cost of sales basically is your ad spend or your sales divided by your ad spend, right? Or your ad spend divided by your sales. So if you, for example, spent let's say $10 on ads and you made $100 in sales, your ACoS essentially is 10% according to Amazon. And so he's getting between 1% and 20% for himself and his clients when, like I said, most Amazon sellers are averaging between like 50 and 150 or even worse. And today in this presentation and in this training, he's going to show you how to create your own high converting ad campaigns in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so that's kind of the goal of this live presentation and of this training, is to help you. First, he's going to show you the system and the strategy that he uses, and secondly, how you can actually do it and implement it for yourself. All right, now I also want to mention one thing, is that if you stay until the end of this presentation, Shakib and I have put together a pretty awesome special gift and a bonus, because we understand that all of you, every one of you has a busy schedule. You have other things that you could be doing right now, but you're sacrificing other things that you could do to attend this training. And we're really grateful for that. And to show you our appreciation for attending, we put together a PDF called the 6-Step Amazon Product Launch Formula. And this basically is another topic in addition to PPC that so many people are concerned about. Many people who were even thinking about starting an Amazon business didn't, because of the Amazon terms of service changes with regards to giveaways and promotions and etc. And so, we basically took a step back. Shakib took a step back and was like, hey, we can still launch products fairly easily on Amazon. It's not like you can't do it, and it's still very, very possible, although it's a bit different than it used to be, but you can still do it. It's not very difficult. And so in this 6-step PDF, it's almost like a cheat sheet or a checklist for you. He outlines exactly what you need to do step by step to launch a product, even considering the new Amazon terms of service changes. And this is a proven strategy. And so if you stay until the end, you'll be able to download this for free at the end of this presentation. We'll give you the link to it. And we also have a second thing to give you at the end of this presentation, which is a very, very special announcement. After Shakib goes through his training and all the content, we want to share something with you, and he's going to kind of show some parts of it throughout the training. But we're really going to talk about what this special announcement is and something special that Shakib and his team have been working on for the past few months, and how it can help you really take your Amazon business to the next level. All right, guys. So now I'm going to hand it off to Shakib. He's going to introduce himself. You want me to? Okay. All right. Well, let me start the introduction for Shakib, because he's like a very humble guy, although like he has quite a reputation in this space. But at the same time, he would like me to start. So he successfully built a 6-figure Amazon business. He's an Amazon pay-per-click or Amazon sponsored ad expert. There are very few people I know who have the capability and the skills that he does and the talent that he does in this space of pay-per-click in Amazon. He's helped save thousands of ad spend daily for himself and his clients. He's managing multiple products on Amazon. So he actually started in this space by selling on Amazon, and then he basically became an Amazon junkie, where he would literally any course, whether free or paid, any training online or offline, like live events even, he would go to every one of these things, and he built up his knowledge and experience so much to benefit his own business. And now he has his own clients, and he does consulting specifically with PPC. That's his area of expertise. And he's personally trained hundreds of Amazon sellers, resulting in multiple 6-figure businesses. So with that, I will now hand it off to Shakib. He's going to tell you about a couple of these images that we have to show you, and he'll get straight into his presentation.
Let me just take that chair. All right, everyone. Hello. I hope everyone's doing well. Farzan put these in there, but these are just a couple of slides just to show you some of the numbers that, some of the incredible numbers that we were able to accomplish with some of the clients. I worked with Arun for a little bit on his campaigns, and he was able to see some of these numbers. Now, granted, some of these, these numbers not guaranteed for everyone, but there is a process and a system. If you follow, you can get very, very close to these numbers. So what I'm going to do today is basically take you through exactly what I do to get to that point where I have a good number of keywords that are getting me an incredible ACoS, right? The problem here is actually, we know that there's a lot of people on the webinar that might be starting off, and they may not have ran too many campaigns, or they might just be starting off in their Amazon business. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off with the basics and then eventually get you to the actual strategy that I use to launch these campaigns and get those numbers. So if you are one of those people that are already running your business and already have ran a few PPC campaigns, then just bear with me. I'm going to try and run through these very, very quickly for everyone else's sake. And then we'll finally get to the actual strategy. So here we go. Basics of Amazon PPC. There are 3 different ways that you could bring traffic to your listing, right? At the end of the day, the goal is to bring more people to your listing so that you can get more sales. Number 1 way is your organic search position, right? Someone searches for your product, they find it, they buy it, you get a sale, boom. Second thing is your pay-per-click advertising. You generate non-organic traffic to your listing. You run sponsored ad, same thing, you get traffic. And then the last one, you have Facebook traffic or Google AdWords or outside traffic. So the main one we're going to focus on right now is the PPC advertising, and maybe a little bit Facebook. I'll just maybe touch on it a little bit because I've been doing Facebook advertising for my products extensively as well, in addition to PPC training. So, I just repeated that slide. So why do you use PPC? You have more control, of course, right? So you're able to predict how many sales you're going to make. If you have a keyword that's working really, really well, and you put $10 versus $20 versus $30 on it, if you increase that budget, you will be able to make more sales. Obviously, you get more targeted ads. You can actually do your product listing validation. This is a process through which you can actually understand if Amazon knows what your product is and what niche it's supposed to be in. Sometimes if you search for let's say an iPhone 6, and some random product will show up. That's because their product is not validated. Amazon is not in sync with their product listing. They don't really understand what they're selling, right? So through PPC, we can do that. Obviously, you get your target audience research. You understand exactly who is looking for your product, and you get increased visibility. Again, you can boost your product launches, and that is the strategy. If you wait until the end of the webinar, we're going to send you the checklist that I have created along with Farzan on how to launch your product. Specifically with the new TOS, it's become very, very difficult because you can't really take advantage of giveaways anymore. You can market your unique variations, different products that you're launching. You can acquire even competitors, customers from your competitors, but if you know how to look at your reports properly. And you have more visibility for seasonal and clearance promotion. You would not believe how many people are selling products, just seasonal products. You take Halloween, you take Christmas, you take Valentine. You just have to find one product that does really well, and you can have a turnover of 20, 30K at a time. Some definitions for you. Again, I'm going to try and run through these quickly so that we're not dragging our feet here. You have buy box versus add to cart. Buy box is something, especially if you're selling a non-private label product, you have to win your buy box in order for you to be able to eligible to sell that product. Keyword is a customer search term, anything that someone would type into Amazon to look for a product, just like if you were searching for something on Google. Your cost per click is the dollar amount that you pay every time someone clicks on your sponsored ad. Cost per click bid is it's a bid that you tell Amazon that you're willing to pay for each one of those clicks. Now, those clicks vary based on your product, your keyword, the niche you're in, and Amazon does give you an estimated bid, and we'll go through as well later on. There's two types of campaign. You have an automatic campaign and a manual campaign. Generally, if you're starting off, you'd want to start off with a manual campaign just to get some numbers in to understand where you stand. And then once you have some numbers, you see which keywords are getting you more impressions versus sales. Then you go ahead and move on to manual campaigns. Impressions are how many times an ad is shown to a customer. Clicks is when a customer actually clicks on your product, and then you have a click-through rate is basically relationship between the clicks and impressions. So if you get 1,000 impressions and 10 people or 100 people click on your ads, you have a 10% click-through rate. Spend is the amount that's spent on your ad. Order is basically the number of order placed. You have your sales that are total sales generated. Conversion rate is the relationship between orders and clicks. Okay, and then moving on, where do I add my ads display? There's 4 different types of ads that you can run that come in your inline, top. Your inline ads are top, middle, and bottom. Your right rail ads, there's ads that can show up right underneath your product listing. So if you're in a product listing, right underneath that add to cart box, there's ads that display there. And then you have smartphones and tablet ads. So here's an example of your inline ads. You see the sponsored right here on top, sponsored right here on top. This is how your ads show up. So every time this ad shows up, it counts as an impression. Every time someone clicks on it, that counts as a click, and you have to pay for it. These are your side ads. These are also a sponsored ad. Sometimes these ads can show up on the bottom, on top, or even in the middle, right? Then the other types of examples are right here. If you see sponsored product related to this item, these are also sponsored ads. They're not, all of these people are paying to be there. So once you click on it, they get charged. Okay, so those are some basics on where the ads appear. Then you have reports. I think the reports is one of the the biggest thing that I've seen people ignore or not understand how to read them, right? Because you could run a campaign, and if you don't know how to look at those numbers and how to interpret what CPC means, what CTR means, how do I evaluate what impressions are, what's important. If I'm not getting sales, how can I make a decision whether a keyword is good or not? All of these things are often neglected, and I've noticed that more and more with as many people that I've worked with, is we're not focusing on the basics of looking at the reports and interpreting what the reports are telling us, right? So when I'm in my Seller Central account, I usually look at search term reports and download these. This is the main one you have. I mean, you have all these different ones that you can use, like I listed all of them, but that's the one I used most of the time. And if I have time, I'll actually show you how to actually look at the reports and interpret them to see exactly what numbers that you should be concentrating on. Now, this is just a process of how do ads display. It's very, very simple. Essentially, as someone searches for a keyword, Amazon filters out non-eligible products, products that are not in the same niche or the same category. They filter out non-relevant product ads, so anything that does not have the buy box or is completely irrelevant, it's not in the right category, it gets filtered out. Then you have more and more filters. So match type is one filter, exact match types versus broad. Exact gets more preference over broad. The bid higher, if you have a higher bid versus a lower bid, you get more preference. Your click history, campaign age, how long you've been running the campaign, has it been refined for a while? If you have a campaign that's continuously running for a while, even for a low budget, then over time it automatically gets refined, right? So anytime you end that, it affects your sales. And then obviously sales history also affects, whether you get impressions for a particular ad or not. Now we're going to go through the 3 different types of match types. I've worked with a lot of sellers where they've just started a automatic campaign, and their ACOS is standing at 150 or 100 or 50 even, and they just don't know what's next. They're like, look, I've increased the bid, I've increased the budget, and nothing is happening. I keep losing more money, right? And they haven't even implemented the different types of match type that Amazon has rolled out a while ago. So the basic one, the main basic one that runs under an automatic campaign is broad, which is a word that's in any order or with other words. It's the least targeted one, and it's the last in the ad auction, right? So if I type in iPhone 6 into the search bar, then I can potentially get matched with it. It can have words after it, before it, in the middle. As long as iPhone 6 is in the middle or it's included in whatever search I made, then Amazon will show up your keyword and give you impressions. Phrase is a little bit more targeted. You have to have that exact words with some words before or after. It can have plural, it could have stemmed forms, and it's usually second in auction. Exact is basically exact, right? So you have to, if someone types in precision blow molding, then it has to be typed in exactly that way, in that order, for you to get an impression for that particular keyword. Sometimes it also includes plurals. So if you have an S in front of it, then it will still give you that impression. But for the most part, it's an exact match type. Now, negative match type is something that is essentially negative keyword, right? So, for example, if you know for a fact that a keyword is losing you money, meaning you ran a campaign, you got 50 clicks, and you got 0 sales from that keyword. provided all the other factors were there, all the other conversion factors were there, and you got 0 sales from that keyword, then you can be pretty sure that that keyword is not relevant to your product. It's not making you any sales. So you can run that as a negative keyword, so that anytime someone punches in that keyword or types in that keywords on Amazon, your product will not show up, right? So that's another way of making sure that you don't lose money. You also have to recognize those keywords that are getting you loads of clicks and impressions but no sales, so that's all the match types that we're going to talk about. Again, these are all the prerequisites that we're talking about, that we need in order for you to have a successful campaign, right? Oftentimes people ask me, look, I'm doing X, Y, and Z of running a campaign for that many days, and I'm not seeing success. And I go back and look at all of their basic stuff that I would assume that you've done, and it's missing, right? So clearly you're not going to have success if you haven't covered all your basics and you haven't done all the prerequisites that are required to have a successful campaign. For example, if you don't have a converting product, if you have a listing that's not optimized and you're running ads to it, yeah, you'll get clicks, but will you get conversion, right? There's two sides to this equation. You have traffic and you have conversion. You can have all the traffic in the world and you don't have conversion, it doesn't matter. You're going to be wasting more and more money. You can run Google AdWords, you can Facebook. It's not going to help you, right? So proper keyword research is very, very important. I usually, when I start off with a new product, I try and do as broad of a search for keywords, basically throw out the widest net to get as many keywords as possible. Now, some of the ways you can use keywords is you have your title. Obviously, your main essential keywords should be in your title, your bullet points, description. Obviously, we use them for pay-per-click ads. Your back-end keywords. Recently Amazon had mentioned they're not very relevant or they're not using them anymore. I still put them in there. It doesn't hurt. They still have that field available. As long as they're relevant keyword, add them in there. And then obviously you can do Google AdWords once you get to it. Once you know your conversion factors are there, it's just a matter of bringing more traffic. Then you can use the same keywords on Google AdWords to bring you traffic. Some of the ways I do keyword research is, you have Amazon related searches. That basically means I go into Amazon, punch in the first keyword that I think, or the first word of a keyword. So if it's, iPhone 6 black, then I will just start with iPhone and see what else comes up. What's the next word that comes up automatically, right? So take down all of those keywords, put them in an Excel sheet, competitor title listing, take all of the keywords from your competitor and title and their listing. Because if they're making sales, then all of those keywords are working. So take your 4 or 5 competitors and make sure you do that. Merchant words, Google Keyword Planner. Keyword Inspector is another tool that I use very often. It has a feature called reverse ASIN search, where you can put in the ASIN of your competitor and it'll give you all the keywords that it's ranked for. And that helps very, very much. Keyword.io and all of these some other sources that you can definitely take advantage of to try and make sure that you have all the keywords that you have. Again, start as broad as possible, and then we narrow it down. Now, so here's our PPC strategy and why we use that. So once you have all of those things in place, once you have your listing optimized, your images are very, very good quality, at least 1,000 by 1,000. Your image resolution, if not more. You have different types of images like action shots, all the other things that you need for conversion, right? Obviously, reviews are important. One of the first step we use our PPC strategy for is we use it for validating our listing. I had mentioned that earlier. What does that mean? I'll go into it a little bit more. What I do is when I have run an automatic campaign, right? I look at that report and I go through all of the keywords that are getting me impressions. Any keyword that gets me impressions, I look at it. I do an eyeball test to see if that keyword is in fact relevant to my product, right? If I see too many keywords that are not directly relevant to my products, then it raises a red flag for me. And what I do is then I basically put all of those keywords aside and potentially eliminate them based on how negatively they're impacting my product, right? That is a test to see if Amazon thinks if Amazon is in sync with what your product actually is, right? So their algorithm tries to make sure that they only give obviously the most relevant products, or the search results come up only the most relevant products, right? So look at those keywords and see which ones are relevant to your products, which ones aren't. If they're not, then you need to eliminate them for your PPC campaign, and you need to eliminate them from your listing, from your title, bullet points, and keywords. In addition to that, obviously, market click research, it tells you exactly who's clicking on your product, what keywords are being searched for, what keywords are getting impressions, and so on and so forth. Finally, you have high-low bids. So there's specific techniques that you can figure out how much you should be bidding for a particular keyword. I found through experience that Amazon suggested bids are very inaccurate. They'll give you a number, and when you actually get that click, it's way off, right? So what I do is I actually do my own research to make sure what is the highest I have to pay for a particular bid and what's the lowest I would have to pay, right? So I'll go through that here. So if for someone who's never run a campaign for a product, this is what I would do. Okay, first I would run an automatic broad campaign. I would set the budget at $15, set the bid to 2.01. It depends. The bid itself can fluctuate based on when you're running it. So if you're running it in Christmas season, your bids are going to be a lot higher and you may not get enough impressions, right? So if you're running it, in off season, then generally you'd be able to get it. So you have to look at your product. Some of the categories that you may sell in are very, very competitive, right? So like cell phones and accessories are probably a lot more competitive than let's say arts and crafts, right? So your bids are going to be a lot lower in arts and crafts versus cell phones. So you would have to evaluate what your bids should be. But generally, for most categories, if you're at $2, you'll get the impressions, right? Run that for a week, pause that, and then run that report, right? Simultaneously, you run a campaigns for your competitors' keyword. So remember we talked about keyword inspector, where you punch in an ASIN of your competitor and you get all those keywords. And then all the other keywords you can throw in there, like all the other keywords through merchant words, the research that you've done, Amazon related keyword research, all of them you can throw in there. And then you run these 2 campaigns for about 7 days, stop them, and then you look at the report, right? Based on that report is what the real strategy comes in, because initially you're just looking for the data. You don't know what Amazon is thinking. You don't know which keyword is going to get you the most impression. You've done all the research to have an estimate of what your best keywords might be, but you can only know from the actual numbers for facts, right? You can make assumptions that, yeah, look, all my competitors are ranked for these top keywords, and there's 50,000 searches being made for all of these keywords every month, so they must be bringing sales. But you don't know until you actually run those campaigns. So some of the things that you would want to look at while these campaigns are running, so you don't just run them and forget it, right? While they're running, monitor your reports, as they're coming in. Usually they're delayed for a few days. But if, let's say, you're not getting enough clicks, what could be the reasons why you're not getting enough clicks? Meaning you're getting impressions, your people are seeing your ads, but they're not clicking on your ads. So there could be 2 reasons why you're not getting clicks. One is your main image, right, may not be good enough, large enough, may not have the highest resolution. It may not speak to the customer, right? So it may not be eye-catching enough for them to click on it, right? Maybe you're not offering enough in that product. Sometimes on your main product, I would add all the bundles that you're offering. If you're offering a free ebook, or if you're offering a free or if you're offering a bonus item with it, I would definitely add that on the main image so people can see it, and make it as large as you can. Make it, get a professional guy that can make at least your main image, make it as big as you want. So there's really 4 things people are seeing. They're seeing your title, they're seeing your reviews, they're seeing your image, and what else do they see when they see your ads? Title. Anyway, so that I can't think of the last thing. What things are they seeing when they're looking at your ads? Sponsored ad. You have your title. Price is the last one. There it is. So yeah, that's the most important. And it could be your price also. So you have to play with those things and test them one at a time to see what's causing people to not click. On the other hand, if you're not getting any impressions, then most likely your bid is not high enough, or your keyword is not relevant to that product. Again, when we talked about validating our listing, we're eliminating the keywords that are not relevant to our product, right? So if they're not relevant, you're probably not going to get impressions, or your bid may not be high enough. You might be running a campaign in November, and all of a sudden December comes around, you're not getting any impressions. That's probably because the bids have gone a lot higher as the season comes around. And then finally, if you're at break even, meaning you're not losing any money from running PPC campaign, which is very, very hard to actually even recognize from what Amazon gives you. It's almost impossible. Even after doing this for a few years, even training a lot of people, just looking at Amazon numbers doesn't give me enough information. And that's precisely why we have this project they've been working on for the past 3 years that I'll introduce you to in a bit. But again, if you can recognize that a keyword is getting you, you're at break even with the keyword, but it's getting you a lot of sales, this can also be very beneficial for you, because it may still be ranking you for that particular keyword, or just your product and stuff. The more sales that you make, the higher in the ranking you go. Amazon doesn't care about anything else. Ultimately, the one thing they care about is, are you making sales? If you're making 10 sales a day versus 50 sales a day, I guarantee you, obviously, the one who's making 50 sales a day will be on page 1, and 10 sales a day might be on page 5, right? So ultimately, it's about making sales. So if you can use PPC to make sales, even if you're breaking even, the theory is that you're going to pick up organic sales as you move up closer to page 1 or page 2, or even spot number 1 on your Amazon listing, right? Most people from our research we've seen, they don't move past 99% of people buy within the first 3 pages. So if I'm searching for an iPhone 6 Black, if it shows up in the first 3 pages, I'll most likely buy it. Otherwise you're not getting any eyeballs. You're probably making 1 or 2 sales a day, and you're just gonna, your product's gonna rot away. So you have to figure out, the name of the game is to get to page 1, get more eyeballs, provided you have your keywords research done. Okay, so that's strategy number 1. This is initial research that you need to figure out your keywords to understand what's making you
Go and just make sure that they're still there.
Is everybody still there? Let's see. Should have been. Okay, good. Can everybody still hear me? Someone said no sound.
That was a while back.
Okay, very good.
The
Perfect.
sound is good. The screen sharing is good, right? Okay, awesome.
Okay, great. How do I get back there?
Okay. Someone said can't see the screen. Not sure why. It might be on your end, because it seems like everybody else can see the screen. So hopefully you can resolve that. Cool.
Okay, he's good.
We love you, Shakib.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Faiz is on there. Shout out to Faiz. What's up, man?
Got some big names on the attendee
I
list.
know, right? I got you with the launch strategy, Faiz. I created it for you specifically. I'm going to share it with everyone now. Okay, so that's that. Now, the high bid campaign, the reason why I do that, I briefly mentioned, is that I want to figure out what is the highest that I have to pay for a bid. I don't trust Amazon's estimated bid because it fools me all the time. So I'll run a campaign and I'll bid as high as I can, depending on which category you're in. Again, a cell phone and accessory might cost you more, but I start a campaign with a bid $4 to $5, and I'll put a budget for $10, run it for 2 days. I'll probably only get like 4 or 5 clicks because I may run out of the budget by the time I get 4 or 5 clicks. But I will find out what is the highest that I'm paying for it. So that's why, if I'm in arts and crafts, I know that most of the bids are running around 75 cents, $1.50, $2, maybe $2.50. So it's very safe for me to put a bid at $5 and know that there literally won't be any bids that are going to be more than $5. So if there is something that shows up at $3.50, $4, I will know that's the highest I have to bid. Now I can make a decision whether to run that keyword with that high of a bid or not, depending on your product. If you're selling a product that's getting you a very large profit margin, if you're making $35-$40 a sale, or even $20 a sale, it might be worth it for you to get that click because you'll still be in net. But for most products, your profit ends up being $4 or $5 after a regular sale. So it may not be feasible, but at least what's the highest and what keywords you can compete with, what keywords you cannot compete with, right? So again, these 2 slides here to start off. This other one is optional for you. Don't necessarily have to. You might be missing some keywords. If you don't do this, I would probably just do it to make sure I'm not missing any keywords, and I include everything. And this is where reports come in, right? So essentially what I do, or I used to do at least, is I would take that report that comes from Seller Central. It comes in a text form. I copy paste it onto either a Google sheet or Excel sheet and do all of this work. Apply a filter, spread the columns, hide columns, center it. Now these couple of things I would still do. Most of this I don't do anymore. I rarely look at my Amazon reports anymore, because I have a tool that just does that for me, and I just use it. Just log into it. It tells me what keywords are working for me, what keywords aren't. I don't really have to worry about that. Now, if you're still using some of the old Excel sheets, then one thing I definitely do is when I'm looking at impressions, I don't look at impressions that are less than 1,000. Just for inaccuracies, right? Just when you're looking at stats, you need to have big enough numbers for you to make a informed decision, right? If a product has 100 impressions, I can't really use that, because it may not be accurate. So 1,000 at least. That's how I filter it. I put anything that's 1,000 or more impressions, I want to take a look at. Click-through rate is the relationship between impressions and clicks. So if 1,000 people saw my ad and 10 people clicked on it, so that's my click-through rate. If your click-through rate is between 0.4 and 0.8, generally what that means is that product is relevant to that customer, right? So if like I said, if I'm looking for iPhone 6 Black, and I see an image of your ad, which has first image as an iPhone 6 Black case, whatever that I'm looking for, it's got a good title, it's got a few reviews, and I click on it, then obviously it is a relevant product. If I see something like a pink case, obviously it's not relevant. If I see something for a Samsung phone, it's not relevant, so I'm not going to click on it. So when you're looking at your number, if it's between 0.4 to 0.8 CTR, you can be pretty confident that it's a good converting keyword. When this comes into effect, when you actually don't have a lot of sales, even after running those first 2 campaigns for 7 days, sometimes I even run them for 10 days, but what I see is that I'll get a lot of impressions, I'll get a lot of clicks, but I won't get any sales, or I won't get a significant number of sales. I won't see like 15, 20, 30, 100 sales on it. So how do I make a decision on that, right? So the next thing I use in combination with the sales is the CTR to see that, look, these people are clicking on it, meaning it must be relevant. Now I have to figure out why they're not purchasing, right? Then I have to look at my conversion factor. Look, maybe there are other people that are offering a better price. Maybe, my images are not great. Maybe my listing is not great. Maybe I don't have enough reviews, or maybe I don't have enough 5-star reviews, right? So all of those things matter. Even when it comes to reviews, if you have reviewers that are top ranked, top 500 ranked, top 1,000 ranked, or if you have video reviews or images, it helps. All of those things help with conversion. Your average CPC now is your cost per click. They average it out. Again, so you'll have an idea when you're running your manual campaign. This is where you'll look at how much bid you should be making. Don't rely on Amazon. This will tell you, okay, your average bid is at $1.50. So you might have had some bids that were at, or clicks that were at $1.80. Some of them might be $1.20. Some might have been 80 cents. But your average is around $1.80. So you know that you don't necessarily have to go to a $5 bid or a $6 bid. You can stay within that range depending on your category, right? So this gives you a very good indication of what your bid should be for your regular campaign. Your advertising cost of sales. I always mess this up. Sometimes I say average cost of sales, but I believe it's advertising cost of sales. Now, this is a very, very important number, but Amazon fools you with that because they don't give you an accurate number. They essentially tell you, okay, you made a sale for $15, and you've spent $5 on ads. They don't incorporate your cost of goods. They don't incorporate Amazon fees. So when they give you that ACoS number, they just say if you spent $15 an ad, for example, and you made a $15 sale, then you're at 100%, right? But in reality, you're actually less than 30% because you haven't eliminated the $5 product cost or a $5 Amazon fees. You're essentially just left with $5. So you spent $15, your profit was $5, so you're on loss, right? And most people don't even know how to calculate that. So that's another issue that we have, and I have solved that also, but I'll share that with you in a little bit. And the next thing I would look at is orders placed within 1 week. So don't look at the orders that came in right away. Amazon has their orders are delayed. Their numbers are not updated on a daily basis. So if you made a sale today, then it will probably show up in 2 or 3 days. That's why sometimes when you start a campaign, you'll see for 3 days, all you're doing is spending money. Like your budget, you've spent $20, $30, you don't have a single sale to show for it. That's because it's delayed. It also may be that, PPC is kicking your butt, but in most scenarios, what happens is the numbers are a little bit delayed. So look for a column that says order placed within 1 week of click, and that'll give you a more accurate number as to how many sales were made through PPC. Now, this is what I look at in terms of when I was just telling you about ACoS, right? So this is the break-even ACoS for one of the product for I believe is one of my clients' product. Anyway, so their break-even ACoS is at 43.39%, right? So what this means is if their ACoS, their real ACoS that Amazon is giving them is below this, that means they're making money, they're in positive. If it's higher than that, they're losing money. So here's their break-even ACoS. It's already calculated here. And this is the ACoS for this particular keyword, right? And then you can see that this has been overall profitable. This keyword has made $43 It got 36 clicks, 9 orders. So you have your conversion rate, which is at 25%. Very good. It's got 6,000 impressions. So it's above 1,000 impressions that we talked about. So it's something you can rely on. And your CTR also 0.55, which is between 0.4 and 0.8. So that keyword, whatever that is very relevant for your product. It's actually making you money. Now, what you could do is probably make sure that if you're running it as broad, you test this as exact and phrase, right? If you're running it as well, you run it at broad anyway. So you test both of those things, and something like that, I'd probably increase the budget. I'd be like, look, it's making me money regardless of the fact that it may not be a lot. I mean, to me, it's pretty good. You're making $3 per order for that particular product. Same thing here. You have a lot more impressions here in this particular keyword, and you got 22 orders, right? But overall, still made you less money than this, right? So this is where reading reports becomes very, very important. How do you make that decision? You've got 22 sales here, you've got 9 sales, but you've made more money here, right? To me, it would depend on the goal, right? If I'm just simply looking to decrease my A cost and looking to make more money, then I'd probably run this more. But ultimately, what you're looking for is sales velocity, right? Because the more sales you make, it doesn't matter how they come. One of the reasons why we do, or at least used to do, giveaways is that Amazon's algorithm will see, oh, this product is selling 50 a day. Let me push them up to page 1. And that's precisely what you're achieving by doing this while making some money, right? On the other hand, if you're doing giveaways, you're probably giving away 100 products. Each product, you're losing $5-6 after Amazon fees. You're losing 600, 700. And some people give away 1,000 products, 500 products, so you're talking about $2,000, $3,000 investment upfront. But if you take all of that money, put it into your PPC, even if you're not making money, you're evening out, it's giving you sales velocity, right? So that's one of the ways I look at PPC there. Now, what I just spoke about here, the same person there, he has keywords that are also losing him money. But if you look at here, you have 132 orders for this particular keyword, right? It's got 577 clicks. The CTR is right around 0.4, 0.38, enough impressions. Break-even A cost is a little bit higher. That's why you see a negative number. You see 15 over here. But the key here to me is 132 sales, right? So for each sale, he's losing 11 cents. How much would you lose if you were to give away 132 products for free, right? Because with the new TOS, you're not getting reviews anyway, right? You're just getting sales velocity. So if you're not getting reviews, why do just giveaways and not PPC when you're getting the same sale velocity from here? I would run this keyword all day just to make sure that, my sales velocity stays up. Meanwhile, I'm trying to make organic sales, right? I'm trying to rank for other keywords. So yeah, all right. So hopefully everybody's still with me. Should we check one more time? And everybody's okay, following along. Hopefully it's not too much. Okay, everybody seems to be good. Okay. Cool.
There are a couple of specific questions. Someone asked about the PPC software that Shakib's using. He's going to talk about that in a little bit. Will this be available as a replay? We're going to try to do that. Normally, I only provide the replay in the members area for my students. This time, if we have enough, requests, enough demand, we might make it publicly available. But the fact that we've even made this live broadcast or this training available is a pretty big deal. So hopefully, if you can stay on, I highly encourage you to stay on and continue until the end of this presentation so that you can make the most of it.
Okay. So once we looked at that, going back to the PPC strategy, because it's continuing. Remember, we created the first 2 campaigns to get some data to understand what keywords are working for us, We did an additional campaign to see what's the highest bid that we have to pay. We're looking at our CPC, which is cost per click average cost per click in our reports, to see what the bid we should be bidding for when we're creating new campaigns. Then once we have those top keywords, right? So step one here, take top customer search terms found in the previous campaign using free tools. Okay, so once we've found those top keywords, then what we do is we use those top keywords as our seed keywords, right? Because we want to go as narrow as possible when it comes to keywords. So if I'm searching for an iPhone 6 case versus if I search for an iPhone 6 case black leather, right? In the second scenario, I know exactly what I want, right? I know I want a black case, I want it leather, I want it for iPhone 6. And if you can get ranked for that keyword, the likelihood of your conversion going up is a lot more than someone just searching for an iPhone case. Because, you know, if I'm looking for an iPhone case generic, there might be 30 million options that show up, or however many options that show up, and I'll click around whatever I see that I like based on what's in my head. But if I typed it, it's not in my head anymore. It's exactly, I'm telling Amazon I want something that's black, I want something that's leather, I want something that's an iPhone case, right? So keyword.io is actually a very good tool that takes that seed keyword and it'll give you another 50 or 100 keywords that are relevant to that specific keyword, and it'll give you like a long tail keywords, right? So if you punch in iPhone 6, it'll say iPhone 6 black, it'll say iPhone 6 black leather, it'll say iPhone 6 case, green, plastic, etc., right? So then you take those top keywords, put it into keyword.io, get those relevant keywords, right? Look at that Excel sheet, eliminate the ones that are not relevant. Sometimes you'll punch in that seed keyword and you'll see 100 relevant keywords, but 20 of them are going to be completely irrelevant. It might just say, ice cream shop, McDonald's, whatever, right? It'll say completely irrelevant stuff that you want to obviously remove. And then even actually, just to go off on a tangent, even if you don't remove those keywords, it can serve as a test for you to validate your listing. Because if you put a keyword that says, like I said, ice cream light bulb for a product that's for iPhone 6, and Amazon is giving impressions, then definitely something is wrong, right? Why is Amazon giving me impression for a completely irrelevant keywords? That means Amazon doesn't recognize what category I'm in or what product I'm selling. So you have to fix that. You have to remove those keywords, and maybe you're in the right category. That's very important as well. For you to get searched on, you need to be in the right category. The simplest way to do that is look at your type 5-6 competitors, see what category they're on. Because they're making sales, their same exact products are similar to yours, then just stay in those categories, right? Okay, so coming back, go to keyword.io, get those relevant keywords, and then start a manual campaign with a $15 daily budget. Make sure you create all 3 ad types, broad, phrase, exact. Use the strategy that I taught you earlier to determine what your bid should be. Right, so I can't give you a bid amount right now because I don't know what category you're in, what product you are. You have to determine that by looking at your first report and see whether it averages out, right? Add the related keywords found in previous step to each ad group. Okay, so that's done. Then you run that for 10 days. And at this point, you should be expecting sales now, right? The first PPC campaign that you ran, which was an automatic and related keywords, you were not necessarily looking to make a lot of sales or even any sales. You wanted to just get some numbers. But now you should be seeing more sales because you've gone narrower. You've taken a keyword that's already worked for you, and you've gone even narrower from that keyword. So monitor that this campaign for sure, right? On a daily basis, look at it and see which keywords are getting you impressions. Whichever keyword are not getting you impressions, increase the bid for them a little bit. If they're getting you, if they're not getting you clicks but just impression, then obviously you want to make sure that you look at your first image. You look at the keyword itself to see if it's relevant. You look at your main image to make sure that it's attractive enough for people to give you clicks. So all of those things you apply. Then at the end of that report, give it a couple of days for all the numbers to come in, right? Because if your report ends in 10 days, then I would say look at that report after a couple of days, because the numbers, all of them don't come in right away. Give it 2-3 days. And then I wouldn't necessarily turn this campaign off. And that's the other trick quickly I want to mention, is that when you see a keyword that is completely irrelevant, right, you can remove that keyword. But if it's a keyword that is somewhat relevant and is getting you sales but is costing you a lot more, don't pause that keyword. Don't eliminate that keyword. Just reduce the bid to 5 cents, right? You don't have, because the reason why you would want to do that is you still want that keyword to be relevant to your product. So if someone organically searches for it, you still want to be found for that keyword, even though when you pay for it, it costs you a lot more, but organically it doesn't cost you anymore. So when you pause it, or if you eliminate it, then Amazon will say, it's not a relevant keyword. So then what they'll do is they'll stop showing that traffic or bringing that traffic to you. So make sure you don't completely eliminate the somewhat relevant keywords. Don't pause them. Don't get rid of them. Just put the bid at 5 cents. You're not going to get impressions, which is okay because you're not going to get clicks then. But if someone searches for it organically, you should be fine. Then you identify those search terms. So as a result of this campaign, you'll probably see 2 or 3 or 4 keywords that are going to work really well. And you essentially repeat step 1 through 3 again, because you want to go as narrow as possible, as long tail as possible, as exact as possible to get those sales in. So you want to get to a keyword that you know for a fact if 10 people click on it, 2 will buy, right? And that's how you essentially get there. How much time we got, bro? Okay. All right. So he's trying to hurry me up. But again, this is the key. Remember, you've done all the hard work in the first few campaigns to get to the point where you can actually run keywords that are relevant to your product and very, very exact. Again, this budget you can also play with. It doesn't have to be 15. Again, if each of your click is costing you $2 or $3, depending on the season or the category, you might want to increase that budget to get enough data, right? So it can fluctuate from $10 to $15 to $25, depending on what you're running. So that's the strategy. In addition to that, I want to cover some of the main mistakes or misconceptions people have. Hopefully we're clear on that. If there's any questions, we can probably address it later on towards the end, or you can email us and we'll try and get back to you. But I want to run along and keep giving you as much information as I can in the limited amount that I have. So I'm going to cover some key mistakes people make when they're running campaigns and 3 common misconceptions, okay? So generally people have the wrong mindset. Let it run and hope that it works. It's not the right strategy, right? Majority of the people I'm telling you that I've started working with, what they do is they come to me saying, hey, listen, my ads are not working. I'm getting no ACoS. And I ask them what you're doing. I run a campaign. I've been running the same campaign for X amount of days. It's just a automatic campaign. I just keep playing with the budget and bids, and that's it, right? You have to put in more work, have a strategy, have a plan, exactly what you're going to do. Not focusing on other keywords. The reason why it's important that is because you might have a keyword that's getting you maybe 1 sale a day or 1 sale every 2 days in July. But when it comes to Christmas, that same keyword will get you 10 to 15 sales because a lot more people are searching for it. So if you can rank for that keyword, if you can rank for a keyword that is completely long tailed, it's exact keyword, but you're ranked for it. There's not a lot of people ranked for it. It's minimum sales you're getting, minimum impressions you're getting. But if you set yourself up that you're ranked for that keyword, by the time Christmas comes around, you're gonna reap the rewards. So don't just focus on the top few keywords, focus on other keywords as well. Again, that's why I said go as broad as you can. Not enough testing and searching for keywords. Again, we spoke about that. Use 5-6 different types of keyword research to make sure you have covered all your bases. Not looking at the data. Some people actually do look at the data. They don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what CPC is. They don't know what CTR is. They don't know what impressions are, clicks, etc., etc. Some of you might be professionals doing that for a while. You may even have someone else doing it for you. But it doesn't hurt to know what they need to do. Sometimes, the people you're working for you are not going to be as passionate for your business as you are. Right. So if you understand this intricately, you know exactly what the process is. You can have someone else implement it, but at least you have a strategy. Most people that are working for you, you may have VAs that are doing this for you, your virtual assistants. But if you don't give them a strategy, they're just gonna, go along, do whatever, not really put the effort to make those changes. If you know what needs to be done, you can tell them. Don't want to spend the money, don't want to scale. Again, if you know a keyword is either evening out, meaning it's not losing you money, or making you money, put more money. That's basically what the ads are for. Put more money, you get more sales, and as a result, you will be able to get more organic sales. And then they stop after they start getting regular sales. Doesn't make any sense. If your keyword is making you money, why stop? And we know that Amazon also gives preference to people that are running PPC ads, right? If you're not running PPC, there's a part of the algorithm that gives you preference. If everything else is the same, between two competitors, you're running PPC ads and you're not, the one who's running PPC ads will get preference. It doesn't have to be like $50 a day. Run it at $5 a day, whatever your budget is. Don't completely eliminate it. Have at least some keywords that are bringing you some extra traffic. And then not looking at data for possible other product. That's a webinar in itself of how to look for other products. We'll cover that another day maybe. Okay. Again, I think this is the same slide, but what I wanted to highlight is the fact that the strategy of just getting sales. You have 132 orders here, and it's not losing you a lot of money. It's getting you sales. And as a result of this, I bet this guy got a lot of organic sales. So do that. All right. Some of the misconceptions people have, I can get to page 1. Okay, I'll cover these here. So I'm bidding very high, but I'm not on page 1. Hang on. Yeah, so I mean, those things I'm covering here anyway. Right, so what is the problem here? We talked about earlier, there's a lot of other factors that contribute towards your ad positioning. It's not just your bid. You can't just say, I'm going to bid $5 for a keyword and show up on page 1. We talked about the relevance. We talked about being in the right category. We talked about having a good main image to get those clicks. So there's a lot of things. So like I mentioned here, ad positioning, category relevance, match type, exact match type go through the ad auction first, and then you get to broad. CTR, performance history, click-through rate. Click-through rate, we talked about 1,000 people are shown the ads. If 100 people click on it versus 10 people click on it, Amazon gives preference to people that are to the ad that has more clicks, right? That has a better CTR rate. Shopper buying history, campaign duration, campaign performance, keyword performance, competition, and bidding. So all of those things combined get you impressions, right? It's not just simply having the highest bid and you get impression. Again, often it requires optimizing for specific target terms over time. I'm bidding very high, but I'm not on page 1. Okay, what was this about? Search your top keyword, observe the top factor, and make sure that. Right. So again, okay, I'm glad this slide is in here because I wanted to mention it, but I forgot what I wanted to mention. Right? Is that not just for organic search, but also for PPC, or specifically for PPC, but as well as for organic search. It's very important that you're in the right category. So in order for you to check if you're in the right category, search for your top keywords or your top 2 or 3 keywords, and then look on the left-hand side. When you search, it shows a bunch of categories. There's going to be like 5 categories that show up. If you're in one of those, at least in one of those categories, then you're probably in the right category. But if your category doesn't show up anywhere else, anywhere on that page in those 5, then that means you're not in the right category. So do a little bit more research on your competitors, see where they are, and get on those categories if you can, because it will affect the traffic that's coming to you. Test all match types. Again, test the exact, test the broad, test the phrase. Ensure primary keywords and bullet points, description and backend. Look, I put them in there anyway. Some people say, description doesn't matter or backend doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't hurt you. If it's a relevant keyword, put it in there. That's it. And then we talked about ACOS. I'm doing great because I'm making tons of sales. A lot of people were making a lot of sales because because through PPC, and they were like, oh, I'm at 100% ACOS, I'm at 80% ACOS, I'm making a lot of money. But it turned out when they actually looked at their ACOS number, since Amazon didn't include anything else in terms of their cost and the fees, they were in fact losing money, right? So this is how you calculate your break-even ACOS. At the very least, I think we'll send this slide over. I don't really know what the plan is, but so at least you guys know. Or there's a better way, like what I was using earlier. Anyway, so this is the calculation to see what your net percentage is, depending on what you're selling at. Again, break-even ACOS. So the calculation that we just did here, all of that stuff gets you to this point, and here you just get it anyway. Okay, so which mesh type should I use? You should test all of them. Each mesh type may work differently for each keyword. So test all of the mesh types. One second, let me get some water. Okay, so yeah, when you're doing this, make sure you test all of the match types. Don't just stick to one. Even if something is working really, really well for you in broad, it may work even better for you in phrase. It may work even better for you in exact. And sometimes it's the opposite. So testing is the only way to know, right? Yeah. So anyway, some quick advice. Treat your Amazon business like a business. Again, if you're doing this part-time, a lot of you are thinking about even starting, or you're doing part-time, pay a little bit more attention to the detail. Yeah. Don't treat it like a part-time thing. If you treat it like a true business, it will give you the results. And I've spoken to a lot of people that are thinking close to giving up, and I'm telling you, the number one reason people fail is because they don't stick with it long enough. It's not because Amazon's changing their TOS. It's not because I lost X amount of dollars on products. Not because I have a good enough product. You may fail on a product. I've failed on a few products, but you keep going. You find that product that makes you money, right? You keep going and you implement those things.